Tonight, tributes for a young doctor stabbed, hit by a car and killed by thugs who ransacked his Doncaster home in a random attack.
The tobacco war explodes in Craigieburn. Now the federal government is stepping in.
Thousands of fans embrace the early start to the Australian Open. Tennis chiefs going for the magic million.
There's something about Mary. We're live to Copenhagen and Hobart as Australia's Queen is crowned.
50 marathons in 50 days. The Melbourne man going the distance for his tiny niece and little battlers like her.
And Steve Smith reveals how selectors thought he was joking about replacing Dave Warner.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Alicia Loxley and Tom Steinfort.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of 9 News, live from Melbourne Park on day one of the Australian Open.
We'll have full coverage of a history-making day here shortly, but first tonight, shocked friends and colleagues have paid tribute to a talented young doctor who was killed after a home invasion in Doncaster. Dr.
Ash Gordon was stabbed and hit by a car after he took on the gang of thugs who robbed him. Niri Tai has today's developments.
A much-loved doctor who dedicated his time to helping others, Ash Gordon was left to die with horrific injuries in the middle of a Doncaster road.
Nice as. Like a proper person, like productive.
The 33-year-old has been identified as the victim who chased burglars after a home invasion. His body discovered less than a kilometre from his home.
If someone broke into your house, what do you do?
Handwritten tributes left at the scene describe him as a true gentleman, intelligent, honest, compassionate, friendly and generous. One friend wrote, "I truly thank you for all that you helped me with. Justice will be served and the devils who did this to you will rot in hell." A skin specialist, the young GP treated patients in Richmond and Box Hill. Colleagues have told 9 News Ash worked here at the super clinic in Box Hill for more than 4 years. Today, they had the heartbreaking task of turning away patients who arrived to book an appointment with their doctor. Shoes and laptops were stolen during the break-in. It's unclear if the computers had any patient records. But police have stepped up patrols in the area. Early on Saturday night, teens were seen running from a party up and down Sargent Street. On Wednesday, a woman living next door had her car stolen. And around 6 weeks ago, an elderly couple living on the same street were burgled.
Like, you can't just have people coming in, like, stealing.
Police say they aren't investigating anything linked at this stage. Niri Tai, 9 News.
Firefighters have had to dodge exploding fireworks as they fought Melbourne's third tobacco shop blaze in less than a week.
The devastated owner of the Craigieburn store has begged arsonists to stop before an innocent person is killed. Eliza Rugg has more.
Melbourne's latest tobacco shop target, exploding into a fireball.
Back up.
The Craigieburn store was set alight at 3:30 this morning.
The next minute, explosions and the whole shop took off.
Loud, very loud. Everything kept going up into the sky.
Firefighters say they had to dodge exploding fireworks. Embers rained down on neighbouring homes around Smeaton Court.
You feel the heat?
At least one roof caught fire.
It's not a good feeling, you know, thinking that your house is going to go on.
Debris was strewn across yards.
My car is nearly missed from one of the cylinders, so it was just next to the boot.
Landlord Con Khalil had rented the property to a woman who ran the tobacco shop. She's currently overseas.
I thought, something happened, but I wasn't thinking that's going to happen.
A burnt-out getaway car was later found dumped in nearby Greenvale, all part of a familiar scene for police as they search for another arsonist. More than 30 tobacco shops across Melbourne have been torched since March last year. The federal government today announcing a major crackdown to try to stop the ongoing turf war. A $188 million funding boost for the Australian Border Force.
It will help boost interception activities at the border by ABF, including through the use of new technologies like AI or artificial intelligence.
Hoping to disrupt the illegal tobacco trade and the criminal gangs fighting for control.
To the people who did that, please stop. Don't do it to somebody else.
Eliza Rugg, 9 News.
Well, it is a little windy here right now, but apart from that, we could not have asked for better conditions to kick off day one of the 2024 Australian Open here at Melbourne Park.
Probably a good day to have some shorter hair here, and there have been bumper crowds flowing through the turnstiles, booming ticket sales, even surprising tournament organisers here. Reid Butler joined the tennis fans.
A new beginning for the Australian Open. Thousands taking advantage of the Sunday start to the tournament, and the enthusiasm is infectious.
Oh, we're happy Australian Open. That's exciting. Yeah.
I want to see them dominate people.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
But fans came to support their favourites from all over the world.
Go the Greeks!
Nixon is a really good tennis player, so we are here for support.
And this is what the competitors are playing for. Yvonne Goolagong won 50 years ago, and she wants an Australian to lift the cup this time too.
Obviously, Alex de Minaur. He's been winning a few tournaments.
Andre Agassi missing his wife, but happy to be back in Melbourne.
The knowledge of the fans here, the sporting fans, you could feel it when you're out there.
For many, the morning started with a coffee. Others preferred bubbles.
Cheers!
This year, there's a two-storey courtside bar.
Best of both worlds, drink in hand, watching the tennis.
But the privilege comes with a warning. Don't get too rowdy. Food is plentiful, curry and chips for this couple.
Delicious, Dom. Very good.
And while the players battle it out on the court, kids get a chance to have a hit too.
Aim is to hit my brother as much as I can.
Staying cool is a priority, and sunscreen is free.
Frankie, apparently they've increased shade by 300%. What do you think?
It's a lot better than last year. It beats the sun, yeah.
And for Nisha and Faze from Sydney, the AO opening day, a perfect way to celebrate their anniversary.
Yeah, we've been married for 15 years now.
By mid-afternoon, Melbourne Park was heaving.
Ticket sales today have been fairly significant, a lot more than we expected.
There's every reason to believe that we'll get over 1 million people coming here.
So what is the secret to cracking that magic million? Well, organisers say it's having more days exactly like this one. Not too hot, not too breezy, and blue skies.
So far, so good. What a way to kick off Australia's favourite Grand Slam. Reid Butler, 9 News.
Tournament boss Craig Tiley has vowed to boot out protesters who tried to disrupt the tennis. Let's head to Mark Santamartino now, who's live outside Melbourne Park. And Mark, there's also going to be a crackdown on rogue taxi drivers.
Tom, marshals are already patrolling the taxi rank behind me to make sure we don't see a repeat of last year's nightmare when fans were left stranded here on Olympic Boulevard, unable to get home because taxi drivers were refusing to start their meters. Instead, they were demanding ridiculous prices up front, a practice that in the past 12 months has been made illegal. If a driver tries to do the same to you, the advice is take down their details and report them. It's a zero-tolerance approach outside the precinct, which is being repeated inside the precinct for protesters. Fans are only allowed to fly the flags representing the countries of the players on court. And because there aren't anyone in the main draw representing Israel or Palestine, technically the flags from both countries are not allowed.
The objective is that every fan has an enjoyable and a safe experience. And any time that is disrupted by anyone, we'll ask that person to leave and not welcome back.
And Tom, because the war in Ukraine continues, the flags of both Belarus and Russia are still also banned. For players representing those countries, there will be a white flag next to their names.
Mark Santamartino there, thank you.
Great stuff. Tony Jones joins us now. TJ, the first ever Sunday start. It has been a massive hit today.
It's been unbelievable, really, and I don't think it was ever really a risk for Tennis Australia because it is what it is, and it's become an actual event. And it was interesting, you know, a couple of former players today saying that Tennis Australia is almost like an event company now because this is an event. And 58,623, that's how many people came through the turnstiles, which actually opened just before 10 o'clock. So it's been enormous, it really has, and people have voted with their feet, and it's just all, and you don't even need to see the tennis when you come along here tonight. So we've got plenty for you coming up later in sport. Of course, the all-conquering Novak Djokovic begins his title defence, and the great Jim Courier will join us live with a preview. Also in sport, Steve Smith opens up on his new role.
I don't like waiting to bat, like I never really have, and I actually don't like watching cricket that much, believe it or not.
Well, just watch the tennis. Okay, and there's been plenty. So not only cricket, not only tennis, and of course it is a day of debuts, and we'll be joined for the first time by award-winning football reporter Tom Morris, who's coming out of the blocks with a bang, that's for sure, because he's got some breaking news on, well, one of the most sought-after contracts in football.
Fantastic stuff, Tony.
Looking forward to it.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Tone. Well, fire has ripped through a storage building at a recycling centre in Broadmeadows. Firefighters were called to that scene at around 5:30 this morning and battled the flames for more than 2 hours. Nearby residents were warned to remain indoors due to thick smoke coming from that blaze. No one was in the building, thankfully, at the time that the fire broke out.
Federal Liberal leader Peter Dutton made a rare appearance in Frankston today to announce local mayor Nathan Conroy as the party's candidate in the Dunkley by-election, with voters set to go to the polls in late February or early March.
As the mayor, Frankston, you have been out there with your sleeves rolled up, listening to people, and that's exactly the sort of local member that I think the people of Dunkley want in Canberra.
I want to listen to my community, the things that actually matter, and the things that matter to the everyday Australians.
The seat was previously held by Labor MP Peter Murphy, who lost her battle with breast cancer in December. Well, in just a few hours, we will have our first Australian-born monarch as Princess Mary becomes the Queen of Denmark.
Both our country and her adopted homeland are celebrating this ascension. Brett McLeod with this report from Copenhagen.
A final run-through fit for a king and queen. Rehearsals at the Christiansborg Palace include not only the Royal Horse Guards, but a stand-in carriage for the one that will carry one monarch in and a new king and queen out.
It was exciting to see a little pre-show of what's going to happen tomorrow.
The stage is quickly being set after the surprise New Year's Eve announcement by Queen Margrethe that she was stepping down. Copenhagen streets only have a few hastily improvised nods to the royal shake-up. One that has locals queuing up is at Le Glace Bakery, which has a 150-year history of making cakes in tribute to the royal family. After selling Queen Margrethe cakes for 52 years, they've had days to come up with a recipe for King Frederick to take the cake.
We landed on this version here, which is elegant, masculine, and hopefully loved by people for many, many years.
Opinion polls show that when it comes to who's the most popular royal after Margrethe, it's Mary.
A lovely girl. She's doing it very well. The way she behaves, I think she's a queen worthy.
She's seen as Frederick's most worthy asset as they become Denmark's power couple 24 years after meeting at a Sydney pub during the 2000 Olympics.
I think people really think he will be a great king. Alongside with Queen Mary, they will make a great couple. She's helped him a lot, finding his way to prepare him to be a king. So people are really supportive of our Queen Mary.
The handover of power could hardly be more simple. Margrethe will sign a document of abdication, and at that moment, Frederick becomes King Frederick X and Mary Queen. No coronation, just a public proclamation.
This square will be packed tomorrow when the Danish Prime Minister steps out onto that balcony to proclaim the new monarchy. Frederick will then make a speech to the crowd before his wife joins him. The first time Mary will be stepping out as Queen Mary.
And there's agreement that Frederick, at 55, is taking over at the right time compared to another recently installed monarch just across the way.
We all look at the UK and look at Charles and say, he's old. So we don't want that.
In Copenhagen, Brett McLeod, 9 News.
OK, let's go live now to Brett McLeod, who is in Copenhagen. Brett, just run us through what is going to happen in the hours ahead.
Well, we're going to see here at Amalienborg Palace a moment in history, not only in Danish history, but European royal history as well, as Queen Margrethe leaves here and heads to Christiansborg to abdicate. She'll be followed very closely behind by her son Frederick and his wife Mary. And then with that very simple ceremony, he will become King Frederick X. There will be no coronation, there won't even be a crown. And then the new royal couple will make their way in an open carriage through the streets of Copenhagen. Now, the good news is, even though it's freezing, the skies are clear. So the tens of thousands of people who are expected to line the streets will get a good look at their new king and their new queen.
Good news indeed, Brett. Thank you.
All right, let's head to Madison Scott now, who is in Hobart, the birthplace of the future Queen. And Madison, take us through how have people there been celebrating the coronation?
Yeah, Tom, there's certainly a buzz on home soil tonight. In just under 6 hours' time, our very own Australian-born princess will be crowned Queen of Denmark. And the countdown is on right here in her hometown as well, where many will be glued to the screens tonight watching a live streaming service of Mary and Frederick's succession ceremony. And the Tasman Bridge here behind me, along with many other buildings in Hobart, will be lit up red in her honour. Her mother used to call her princess. Tomorrow, all of Denmark will call her queen. But at heart, the royal will always be the girl from Taroona, growing up the youngest of 4 on the idyllic coastline south of Hobart.
When you least expect it, you've got a princess close by, and now a queen.
From hockey to horse riding, she wanted to do it all.
Taroona High School was 4 years of when you really start to grow up, I think.
So, David, which one was the classroom which you taught Mary in?
The classroom just up there was where I taught her class, yes.
David Perkins was Mary's Year 10 science teacher. Little did he know, 37 years ago, he was bestowing knowledge to a future queen.
She was a very good student, very capable, conscientious, hard-working, and achieved very good results.
His wife Judy taught at Mary's infant school.
We're just very proud that Tasmania's the birthplace of a beautiful queen.
The Princess's Year 8 Home Economics Cookbook, still a favourite in the Perkins household.
There's the famous lamb chop casserole by Mary Donaldson, as you can see.
On behalf of all her former schools in Tasmania, the Department of Education is tonight wishing Princess Mary all the best in her new role, saying we hope the richness of her education and experiences at school helped play a part. Our Mary is how she's known here. Cheers. If you had one message for Mary today, what would it be?
We'd say we're proud of you.
It's hard to sort of fathom, really, that she's now going to become a queen.
Celebrated today in true noble fashion.
I'm a Taroona girl and she was a Taroona girl, so it's nice to be able to celebrate with all my family.
The littlest of princesses dressing up in their Sunday best.
I like that hers in Tasmania.
Mary, a fan of them as much as they are of her, Tasmania's NBL team now hoping Denmark's queen will become their official patron.
We can't be prouder of her. It's just such a fairy tale story.
There's certainly a sense of pride here in Hobart, and from the shores of Taroona to the mainland, celebrations are kicking off right around the country. From Brisbane to Melbourne, Aussies putting on festivities fit for a queen. In Hobart, Madison Scott, 9 News.
A big occasion indeed. Well, up next for you in Melbourne's 9 News, cop that, a divvy van's nasty collision with a rideshare vehicle in Melbourne's west.
The alarming reason why cash will be banned at thousands of TAB terminals.
And the world's fastest man hitches a ride in the world's fastest electric vehicle.
Two police officers have escaped serious injury after colliding with a rideshare vehicle in Sunshine. They were responding to an urgent job in their divisional van when the crash happened. The female passenger in the rideshare vehicle was taken to hospital for observation.
You will no longer be able to gamble with cash at most TAB betting terminals after a 16-year-old racked up a near $100,000 debt. The teen gambled on more than 30 occasions using unsupervised machines at venues in Melbourne's north. Tabcorp has since been charged and ordered to ban cash from 70% of its machines.
That should never have happened in the first place. It's harrowing for the family, and I'm hoping they get the support they need to get through.
To place a bet, punters will now have to obtain vouchers from staff after proving their age.
Joe Biden says he's delivered a private message to Iran after 2 days of US-led strikes on Houthi bases in Yemen.
Thousands of protesters have taken to the streets in cities around the world calling for a ceasefire. This weekend marking 100 days since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. Here's Alison Petrowski.
2 targeted strikes in 48 hours, wiping out Houthi military assets in Yemen. Satellite pictures revealing scorch marks left on a radar site at Sana'a Airport and shelters destroyed at an airfield in Hodeidah.
Send a message to Iran in the face of all these attacks from the Houthis. Deliver with
living it privately and we're confident.
The strikes hit 90% of their targets, damaging the Houthis' ability to carry out complex missile and drone attacks.
There were over 150 precision munitions employed on over 60 different targets.
But US officials say the Iran-backed militants remain capable of firing at ships transiting the Red Sea, attacking commercial vessels in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza, causing havoc with the crucial shipping route. 100 days since the October 7 attacks, thousands took to the streets of central London and Freedom Plaza in Washington, D.C. to call for a ceasefire.
The White House has been trying to separate the strikes on Yemen from the Israel-Hamas war, but protesters here say the two are inextricably linked and they fear a wider conflict.
I mean, I think it seems like a pretty thin veil to try to portray that it's not connected.
You don't want the war to escalate, stop bombing people. That sounds like an escalation to me on our behalf.
In Washington, D.C., Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
More than 30 people have been killed in a mudslide in Colombia. 35 others were injured when the avalanche of dirt blanketed a busy road in the west of the country. Rescuers are still searching for anyone else who may have been buried.
The world's fastest man has met his matching car form. Usain Bolt taking a ride in a record-breaking electric Formula race car ahead of the first e-race in Mexico City. That car powered to 100 metres in 4.36 seconds, just over 5 seconds faster than Bolt's 100-metre sprint record.
OK, Livinia joins us now from Garden Square. Good evening to you, Livinia. The weather has certainly done the right thing for the opening day of the AO.
Hi Alicia, yes it has. It's one of those perfect summer days. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, and beautiful sunny skies. Although the winds have been a little gusty and they'll stay that way for the next couple of days. It warmed up into the low to mid-20s right across Melbourne, but temperatures are set to ramp up tomorrow. Winds will gradually switch around to northerlies and they'll pull down warmer air right across the state. And that heat will increase into Tuesday, but rain is set to arrive on Wednesday. Looks like reaching Melbourne in the late morning, but the system could slow down, bringing rain and storms later in the day. So there's likely to be some challenging conditions in the first week, but starting the tournament a day earlier does give organisers more flexibility in scheduling, and with significant rain a distinct possibility, that looks like quite a timely move, Alicia and Tom.
It certainly does, Livinia. We'll see you a bit later on. Thank you.
All right, next in 9 News, on the wrong track, tram passengers rocked by a driver's ambitious U-turn.
The US cold snap affecting everything from Taylor to Trump.
The voters of Taiwan send a powerful message to China.
And your first glimpse of the new ad campaign selling Victoria to the world.
A poorly timed U-turn has ended badly for a driver on Collins Street after his Toyota hatchback veered into the path of a westbound 109 tram. Fortunately, no one was injured in the crash, but tram services on the route were suspended for an hour.
A life-threatening cold snap is sweeping across the US. The Arctic blast leaving millions at risk as temperatures dip to record lows.
The country is facing weather alerts coast to coast, and nothing is immune from presidential campaigns through to football playoffs. Lauren Tomasi reports from Nebraska.
21 degrees below zero, and on the football field, this is history.
Fourth coldest NFL playoff game.
One of the coldest playoff games to ever be held. Kansas City welcoming Miami and Taylor Swift to the Big Freeze.
And yes, she's here. Watch, it looks like a Taylor video.
35 states across America are tonight on alert, the country shivering through an intense and dangerous cold. In Iowa, it's just 2 days until the all-important caucus.
Good, it's cold here in Iowa.
America's first opportunity to vote, but presidential campaigns are facing cold weather chaos. Donald Trump has been forced to put 3 of his 4 scheduled rallies on ice amid the warning to anyone outside, in this weather, it only takes 10 minutes for frostbite to take hold.
You have the worst weather, I guess, in recorded history, but maybe that's good because our people are more committed than anybody else.
It's hard to describe how bitterly cold it feels. Here in Omaha, with the wind chill, the temperatures are getting down to minus 41 degrees. That's more than 2 times colder than a deep freezer.
More than 1,100 flights have been cancelled across the country. When you look at this runway, it's not hard to see why. Americans are used to the cold in these parts, but this is a cold on a whole new scale. In Omaha, Nebraska, Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
Taiwan has sent a strong message to Beijing after re-electing the ruling Democratic Progressive Party.
Voters have granted the party a 3rd term and again rejected reunification with China. More from Eddie Meyer.
Supporters of the Democratic Progressive Party celebrating an historic victory. Lai Ching-te leading the DPP to an unprecedented 3rd term. The new president thanking the Taiwanese people and pledging to stand up to threats from Beijing, which claims the island as its own, further entrenching tensions with China for another 4 years.
We are a country. We are the light of the world. We love freedom. We love democracy.
Opposition Kuomintang leader Hu Yui conceded defeat with an apology. I did not work hard enough, he told supporters. I let everyone down. I'm sorry. It's a rebuke for his party, which had called for closer ties with China after a decade of military threats and economic coercion. China has already dismissed the poll as not reflecting the will of the people, saying its will on achieving national reunification is rock solid. It also warned Canberra over any miscalculations in its relationship with Taiwan's new government.
Obviously, we don't want to see any disruption to the status quo on the Taiwan Strait. That's been a long-standing position of Australian governments of both political persuasions.
Under Taiwan's first-past-the-post voting system, the DPP received just 40% of the vote. After 8 years of majority government, it will have to find support from a minor party to pass legislation. Eddie Meyer, 9 News.
A new advertising campaign aiming to boost Victorian tourism has been launched here at the Australian Open. Every Bit Different aims to showcase the best of Melbourne and Victoria's regions to the global audience.
To be able to put Melbourne and put Victoria up in lights at a time that really coincides with when all the eyes of the world are on our state, you couldn't ask for a better platform.
The campaign will target both interstate and international markets to help drive Victorian tourism's economic recovery.
Well, still to come for you in 9 News Melbourne, a surprising development on the St Kilda Hotel where David Hooks died 20 years ago.
A luxury hotel guest forced to pay up big time after trashing his room.
And the inspirational school teacher going the distance for his precious little niece.
Well, nearly 20 years after the death of cricket legend David Hooks, the owners of the St Kilda pub where he passed away are striving to reopen the venue. The Beaconsfield Hotel has been closed for nearly 2 decades since the former commentator and coach died after a clash with a bouncer. The City of Port Phillip is currently assessing a planning application to revert the abandoned building into a licensed establishment.
The man who trashed a 5-star hotel room after taking ice has been slapped with a hefty fine. Tong Ming Lu was staying at the Sheraton Grand in Sydney last month when he flooded his room and threw items out the window, including a smoke alarm and ironing board. A court has ruled he must pay $100,000 for damage to the hotel and a $1,000 fine for assault.
Well, 50 marathons in 50 days. That is the commitment a Melbourne high school teacher has made to support the families of babies born prematurely.
Inspired by his sister and tiny niece Sylvie, Tom Price is now 37 runs in, pushing his limits to raise some serious cash. Stephanie Anderson met him.
Every morning when most of Melbourne is still asleep, Tom Price is in marathon mode.
Follow the sun.
Setting the pace for 42.2 Ks, this 33-year-old's early run is no one-off. In fact, Tom's on a mission to make it 50 in a row.
It's all for my sister Zoe, and my niece Sylvie.
Because incredible strength sure runs strong in this family. At 35, Zoe was diagnosed with cervical cancer and underwent treatment, then started a 5-year process to become a mum.
We had to go through IVF, and then on our 9th transfer we finally got to have Sylvie.
But this little girl arrived well ahead of schedule, born at just 23 weeks and 6 days.
She was very small, 29 centimetres, but she just looked like
628
grams, but she just looked like the most beautiful baby that I've ever seen.
For the next 134 days, Mum Zoe and Dad Graham's world revolved around the Royal Women's Neonatal Intensive Care Unit.
To leave at the end of the day and then come home to a quiet house and see her bassinet in the room, it's it was very challenging. I would lie on the couch at night and just howl, I just miss her so much.
Now little Sylvie is right where she belongs and thriving.
She's grabbing her feet and she's going to roll very, very soon.
Blissfully unaware that her uncle is running in her honour, already raising close to $60,000 to fund new chairs, equipment and research for current and future families needing NICU support.
The stories I'm sharing, the stories I'm learning about, just provides me with great strength to run these marathons.
Most mornings there's also mates by the teacher's side as he runs laps in Patterson Lakes, including Adam Lynch, who owns a sport recovery studio where Tom has become a daily customer.
He's like walking in, he's still standing up, he's talking to me, he's like he doesn't come in and crash and sit down.
I'm there 2 hours a day, ice bath, sauna, compression boots. It's about a 7 or 8 hour job just to get up to do this every single day.
When Tom crosses the finish line of marathon number 50 on January 27, he will have clocked 2,110 kilometres. That's equivalent to running halfway across the country. Now, you'd think you'd need a big rest after that, but it's not the plan.
Endurance running is a big part of my life. I'm not one to just do this mission and not do another one.
A lap of Australia could be on the cards, but first the focus is getting this feat run and done, inspired by Sylvie every step of the way.
She's going to just be so proud and always something to look back on as well. Like, my Uncle Tom did this for myself and for my friends.
This is Sylvie's legacy, so I'm just part of it.
Tomorrow's a new day for everyone.
Stephanie Anderson, 9 News.
What an inspiration. Such a lovely story there. OK, now returning with tonight's sport is Tony Jones.
Thanks, Alicia. Hello again. Coming up next, Chief Football reporter Tom Morris to join us with some developing news on one of the most sought-after signatures in football. Also tonight, here at Melbourne Park, bit of a down day for the Aussies, but Novak, well, he's ready to rise. Steve Smith's fierce warning to opposition bowlers, and Arnie's message to the Socceroos after a lacklustre Asia Cup start. Welcome back to Melbourne Park. It is day one of the Australian Open. Just wouldn't be an Australian Open without this man, Jim Courier, rejoins us for another year. And great to have you back, Jim.
It's so good to be back here with you, Tony, and just back in Melbourne in general. I'm pumped.
All right, and so is Novak Djokovic. So who's going to stop him?
That's a good question. I mean, Novak had a little bit of an injury scare in the United Cup with his wrist. His team says everything's okay. He's playing a young Croatian qualifier tonight. I don't think he's going to have too much of a test tonight, but Novak going for number 11. He's basically him versus history.
Exactly, and it's very much a night of champions, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we have Sabalenka, the defending champion, playing behind him as well. So we'll see how that shakes out. Keep your eyes on some of the young guys, though. Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, and certainly Alex de Minaur, who's had a wonderful start to his season. So there's a lot of excitement. A lot of crowd here for a Sunday, too.
Mate, absolutely. And for someone that only touched down from California a few hours ago, you've done remarkably well.
I haven't tied my tongue too much, but it's early in the night. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to getting in the booth. Going to be with Todd Woodbridge, John McEnroe. We're going to have a great time watching Novak do his thing on center court.
And Andre Agassi's back here, too.
Double A's in the house. I'm supposed to catch up with him, but they sent me to see you instead, so which was my preference anyway. So.
All right, terrific stuff, mate. I appreciate it. Good to see you again, Jim.
All right, bye for now.
Good on you, mate. Jim Courier joining us there. Well, unfortunately, the Aussies have had a pretty tough opening day here at Melbourne Park, with none managing to move through to the second round. World number 71, Chris O'Connell, is currently flying the flag against Christian Garin, but it was little-known Queenslander Dane Sweeney who almost stole the show. Xander Maguire reports.
7 wins and the Australian Open is yours. While our local heroes haven't been able to climb their first obstacle today, Sydney sider Chris O'Connell is in with a fighting chance. On the comeback after losing the first set, he's hoping to turn the tide for the Aussies after some of our rising stars have fallen short in the first round.
And he finishes it off with a ripping forehand winner.
Wildcard Dane Sweeney almost pulling off a miracle win over 22nd seed Francisco Cerundolo, stealing 2 sets from the Argentine to the delight of a raucous home crowd.
Oh, yes.
But ultimately, he fell in a 5-set classic, a game of centimetres that didn't go his way. Still a Grand Slam debut to remember. It hasn't been all cruisy for the internationals either. World number 12 Taylor Fritz suffering an ankle injury in his opener after dropping his first set to outsider Facundo Diaz Acosta. Earlier, Yannick Sinner shook off some unforced errors to cruise through with a straight sets victory over Botic van der Zandskoop. Some local love for the Italian with Australian master coach Darren Cahill in his corner.
He's getting more Italian slowly, so we try to teach him. We try to teach him what kind of pasta is good to eat and what not. So.
In the women's draw, no early surprises. World number 11 Barbara Krejcikova shook off a scare to win in 3 sets, while seed 8 Maria Sakkari cruised past her first hurdle 6-1, 6-4. Xana Maguire, 9 News.
Well, Victorian clubs searching for a key forward will have to start their search all over again, with a Port Adelaide star set to recommit. Chief football reporter Tom Morris joins me now from the newsroom, and welcome to the team, Tom. Great to have you on board. What are those details?
Yeah, evening, Tony. Well, Todd Marshall was said to be one of the most sought-after free agents at the end of 2024, but he's going to be off the market soon. He's going to sign a long-term deal of at least 4 years, which will lock him into Port Adelaide until at least the end of 2028. Now, this follows Zach Butters re-signing until the end of 2026 last month. In the same week, Connor Rosie, the new captain, penned a monster deal until the end of 2032. So if this deal is 4 years, and it could be 4, 5 or 6 years, either way, it's going to be long-term. He'll be almost 30 by the time he comes out of contract. All parties expect this deal to be done before round 1 at the absolute latest. And what it does do, Tony, it leaves Ben King and Jamara Ugle-Hagan as the most high-profile key forwards who are out of contract. Now, they're not free agents, and I do expect both of those players to re-sign as well in the coming months. Now, in other news, just quickly, Sam Mitchell, he will return to Hawthorn tomorrow after his bout of pneumonia. He's going to take a staggered approach in his return to the club. He'll be there for a few hours, maybe not too much this week, but certainly in the future, they're hoping that he can get back to full health and coach the team. In his absence, all the assistants will shoulder the burden. Tony?
All right, Tom Morris there, our chief football reporter, and he'll have all the breaking news right throughout this season. More footy, and Collingwood skipper Darcy Moore has revealed he played hurt during the Magpies premiership run. A wrist injury forced the defender to have surgery before Christmas, but he's now returned to pre-season with a clean bill of health.
It's just one of those niggles that carries on for a few months, so yeah, good to get it sorted. I just had a little minor operation on my wrist in December just for the break, and recovered really well, so back in full training.
The Pies return to the training track on Monday, tomorrow. Steve Smith has challenged opposition bowlers to bounce him with the new ball ahead of his debut at the top of the order. The 34-year-old telling how selectors initially didn't take him seriously when he offered to replace opener Dave Warner. More from Braden Ingram.
It's hardly a surprise that Steve Smith can get a little edgy, but this revelation will shock you.
I don't like waiting to bat, like I never really have, and I actually don't like watching cricket that much, believe it or not.
105 test matches into his illustrious career, Smith is taking on his greatest challenge yet as an opener.
It's something that isn't really foreign to me. I've batted on numerous occasions where I've come in early doors.
But when it comes to making his pitch, selectors took some convincing.
I don't think they sort of took me seriously until I got to Sydney, and I was like, no, I'm actually being genuine here.
Smith daring opponents, beginning with the West Indies in Wednesday's first test, to keep targeting him with the short ball, a tactic that has been effective in recent years.
You're pretty game, I suppose, if you're with the brand new ball bowling short stuff and wasting it, but that's up to each opposition.
The move up allowing the highly fancied Cameron Green to return to the side at number 4.
For me, it didn't sort of sit right having him come in and bat up top. I've played for a long time and I'm an experienced player, and I think it's something that I should have done.
Last night, a fitting farewell for Aaron Finch. A duck in his final Big Bash innings, not the retirement gift he hoped for, but a win over the Stars was. The Renegades also revealing Shaun Marsh will call it a day after Wednesday's clash with the Thunder. Braden Ingram, 9 News.
Socceroos coach Graham Arnold has demanded his side lifts its game after opening the Asian Cup with a lacklustre 2-0 win over Minnows India. The Aussies failed to score in the first half before strikes from Jackson Irvine and Jordan Wass helped avoid embarrassment.
We can improve on everything, and the boys know that. We have our standards, and I have high expectations for the players and their performances, and those expectations and standards need to be met.
Their next clash comes against Syria on Thursday night. Meanwhile, in the EPL, Manchester City narrowed the gap on ladder leaders Liverpool, striking in stoppage time to defeat Newcastle 3-2. All right, that's your Sunday night sport, guys. I'll tell you, if today is any indication as to what the next 14 or 15 days are going to be like here, we are in for one cracker of a tournament.
Yeah, and he's absolutely bouncing. It sounds like we've got a nightclub behind us here at the moment, Tony. So all happening at the Oz Open. Let's head over to Garden Square. Lavinia is there for us. And Lavinia, look, it sounds like we've got some warmer weather on the way.
Oh, we do, Tom. Here at Melbourne Park, it should be 5 degrees warmer than today. But the weather has got a few curveballs for us in the first week, and I'll have the full 7-day forecast for you next. Hello again from Melbourne Park on this historic first Sunday of the 2024 Australian Open. The weather has been ideal for players and crowds. The city peaked at 23 degrees. It's been a little cooler at Geelong with a top of 21. Most suburbs have warmed up into the low to mid-20s this afternoon. Epping reached 26 degrees, Moorabbin 25, Ringwood 24. And the beautiful summer sunshine made up for those gusty breezes. It's been quite cloudy through Gippsland. That cloud has produced a few light showers this afternoon. The northeast has been the warmest part of the state, 33 at Rutherglen. But there has been thunderstorm activity there as well, and an isolated storm delivered 27 millimetres of rain to Mount Buller. And a severe thunderstorm warning is currently in place for the northeast corner with the risk of heavy rain. But those storms are expected to ease after 8 p.m. Further out, the monsoon trough is producing heavy rain across the top end, and for Darwin, it's also delivered the coolest daytime temperatures since July. A low is set to form tomorrow, and while it isn't expected to develop into a tropical cyclone, it will enhance the rainfall, with Darwin in line for 250 to 300 millimetres in the next 48 hours. There'll also be significant rain along the New South Wales coast, up to 45 millimetres for Sydney, 24 degrees. Light showers for Brisbane and a top of 30. A cooler and showery day in Canberra, 20 degrees. Hobart will be under partly cloudy skies with a mild top of 23. The hot spell continues in Perth, 37 degrees. Warm in Adelaide as well, 34. Back home, there's the risk of thunderstorms, possibly severe over the eastern ranges, but there'll be dry and mostly sunny skies elsewhere. Areas north of the ranges are expected to warm up into the high 20s and low 30s. And in the southwest, Hamilton is forecast to reach 30, Warrnambool 28. But onshore winds will keep it a little cooler across Gippsland, with most spots heading for the mid-20s. And the east to northeasterly winds will be fresh along the coast. It'll be a warmer day across Melbourne tomorrow, with most suburbs heading for 28 degrees, 29 at Scoresby. The morning will be the sunniest time of the day, with a slight risk of a thunderstorm sparking up in the afternoon. And the easterly breezes will be quite gusty at times. After an overnight low of 17 degrees, Geelong's heading for 27. And Melbourne is also expected to dip to 17, ahead of a top of 28. Forecast will be even warmer on Tuesday, a top of 30. 25 on Wednesday, with rain and storms possible from the late morning, up to 15 millimetres of rain. A few showers on Thursday, 23. Cloudy skies on Friday, and 22. Then next weekend is looking picture perfect. Plenty of blue sky, a maximum of 28 degrees. So Melbourne's weather will keep things interesting for the first week here at Melbourne Park. Alicia and Tom.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Lavinia, great to see you, and that is 9 News for this Sunday, live from Melbourne Park.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great evening.